Hey guys, welcome out to the shop. I finally got another project in the shop. It's been kind of hard trying to find decent deals and trying to come up with something to actually work on out here. So I went and picked up a Cub Cadet 1517. You guys can see the numbers right there. Purchased this. Guy said the motor is running, but you gotta squirt some fluid in the carburetor. He thinks that there's a problem with the fuel pump down there, but overall decent condition. Has a little bit of rust. This is a little bit of an older one. Seat has a couple of tears in it, and let's see here, what else have I found out so far? The battery was dead, so it's getting charged right now, so we can try to start it up. This linkage right here is broken, or just has came off, it's worn. Something's going on with that, so we need to investigate what is going on with that. This little ball on here might be a little bit too small, something, but we'll work on that as well, because it'll plop up onto it, but it'll end up working itself back off. So I think the linkage is just worn out. Looks like we got a loose bolt right here. Has a little bit of damage right here, but that's normal for lawnmowers because people just run into things with them. And I'm not sure if the deck is unlevel or not. That one is right there. And no, I don't think it's unlevel. I think it just rides low to begin with. But overall, I mean, it looks in pretty decent shape. Comes with the free duct tape over there, so it's always a plus. But I'm getting the battery charged right now, and then we're going to try to start it up, see if we can get any fuel coming into the engine, stuff like that. And we'll be right back. Alright guys, we are all done charging as much as I'm going to be charging it. What I'm going to be working on real quick to see kind of what parts I need to order is I've gotten the fuel filter right here. I put on a different fuel line, and I'm running it to this little bottle filled with fuel that'll act as my fuel tank. And the reason why I am doing it like that is, you guys see that bolt? That's not supposed to be there. There's a hole in that fuel tank, so it's leaking out some fuel, and I don't feel comfortable using it or trying to fill it up and trying to use it. I have found a fuel tank on eBay already for like 40 bucks, so that's not that bad. And I found a ball joint already for the front that was like $10. And I'm about to find out if we need a fuel pump or if it was the lines or something like that. We'll kind of go into it with that. And if I can't get the fuel to prime out of the little bottle, we'll spray some fuel in the carb and make sure that it does fire over before we actually purchase anything to make any of the repairs. Or if this is just going to go out back out the door as the parts mower. Alright, so the safety switch on the seat has already been bypassed, I've seen, and we've gotten the battery pretty charged up. So we're going to go ahead, and I think we have to have the brake depressed for this, and let's see what happens. So I don't see any fuel getting sucked up, and it definitely does not look like anything is getting picked up. So I do think that the fuel pump is bad. So we're gonna have to go and look into that as well. I'm thinking about just taking the hood right off of here so that we can actually work on this and see what we got going on. I went ahead and took off the air filter, and we're gonna go ahead and just try to crank it over and make sure that it's at least gonna fire. I don't want to do too much work on this thing if it's not gonna actually work. that's not gonna work without a good battery. So we went ahead and got some fuel put back in there. Key is on. Let's go ahead and see what's gonna happen. That looks like it's gonna be a winner. It looks like it's going to be a running machine. So I think the first time I had the choke off and I just turned it on and throttled it all the way up. That oil light is still on, so I do think something's wrong with that oil pressure sensor. But I feel confident enough that we can get this thing running and going to where I'll go ahead and look at that fuel tank, the ball joint, and this fuel pump right here. Just make sure, I'll probably pull this off, make sure that we don't have any trash in there. This line is, well, it's not that hard. Well, it's kind of hard. But we'll just try to make sure that it's all cleaned out for sure, and then work with ordering some other parts. Went ahead and got some of the parts in the mail today, and one of the first things that we're going to do is change out this little ball joint, because it's kind of annoying not being able to steer this correctly if I need to move it out of the shop. So we'll take that off, and then we have to take this loose as well. It looks like this was just like worn out. You can see the receiving part of the ball joint is just kind of like hollowed out. Looks kind of ovalish now. And this is the new ball joint that we got. I'm hoping that it just threads right on perfect. Alright, so that fits. And then we'll check it on the tie rod end. Alright, so that is tightened. Now let's see if I got the right size to tighten this up. Yes, I do. Alright, so that is all tightened up. The ball joint is now fixed. So we should be able to turn the wheel and they should turn together. Yep. Good. So now if I need to move out of the shop, I can with no problem. Alright guys, so after the ball joint got replaced, I went ahead and worked on getting this new fuel pump installed, and it's still not pulling fuel. I have this disconnected right here. I don't believe that I really need to have it connected right now. Should be able to try to crank it over and fuel should try to come out. But I just had this hose line, or this fuel line, rigged up to my little fuel bottle. So I don't know if that could be affecting it. So one of the things that I did need to replace on this was the fuel tank, because it had this awesome leak stop system put in here. And I went on eBay and was able to find a fuel tank, hoping that this one fits. New fuel tanks were crazy expensive, and this one was like 50 bucks. I think new ones were like $150 to $200. So I opted out the cheaper way. I filled it with water just to make sure that it wasn't going to leak itself, and we are good. So it looks like we got to take off pretty much the whole entire body to try to get into that thing. Yeah, so we're going to be working on that, trying to get that stuff taken off so that we can get that thing adjusted. Now the one thing I did notice is that this is bumped out and this does not have any kind of bump, so I'm hoping that it's the exact same or close to it, at least to where it will fit in there. So you guys can see that the seat is missing right now. Still working towards getting that fuel tank replaced, but I wanted to show you that even if you don't know how something exactly goes and comes apart, what you do is you just start working in one spot and then kind of just kind of keep peeling away the pieces until you're at the point of where you need to be. You may end up taking something off that you don't need to, but you can always put it back on. But like I took apart a couple of bolts from up under here, and I don't think I needed to. And then I started realizing that I needed to get underneath the seat. So I lifted up, and I can see that I've got something in the very front holding it on. And I don't know exactly what right yet, but it's something right in this area that's still holding it. So that's one of the things that you got to do, is just kind of keep plugging away at the different parts until you've got a freed up section of whatever you need to get to. Alright, so I'm going to wheel this back outside. As you can see, there's all sorts of junk all over this. So we're going to take it back outside, get it all blown off. I wonder if that pulley's actually held down with duct tape. So while I was blowing this all off, I started looking, and we have this splice in here in the hose line, and it's zip tied right here. And I'm almost wondering if somebody's already replaced this fuel line once before. And I looked down into that little hole where the inlet for the fuel line is, and it looks pretty gunky, like there's some junk up in there. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I decided to go ahead and just replace the whole fuel line and get it done with. I'd hate to go ahead and put this all back together and everything, and then the fuel line is still bad. And I don't even think that it's supposed to go through this hole right here, because well, this pinches it. So I don't think that's correct. I think it's supposed to come maybe right up through the bottom. I'm not sure yet, but I went ahead and purchased some fuel line, and we'll go ahead and get that one long piece ran, and then get this plumbed in to the gas tank and also that fuel pump. So I've routed it through the bottom of the mower just to kind of see where I need to be, and just gonna plumb it in now to the actual fuel tank. And I never use, I know that these have like a screwdriver slot on them, but I never use a screwdriver. I just try to find a nut driver, because I've slipped on them so many times and hit my own hands and stuff like that. It hurts. You don't want to keep doing it. Alright, so that is nice and tight. It won't pop off like it did on the other one. When I pulled that off, you guys saw that I had to take off in a hurry because fuel was pouring out everywhere. So now we'll just take this, we'll stretch it down below, get that set in, and that looks almost perfect. It's a little bit off here on the back, but pretty sure that this will work. And like I said, the other one had the bumped out part right here. This one does not. So, but everything else looks like it matches up correct. So we're gonna get this fuel line ran the rest of the way and correctly zip tied where it was supposed to be. Guys, so you are back with me. We're checking out that fuel line. Got the fuel line routed down through here. It's low as possible with the fuel filter. Comes up into the fuel pump, and then I've reconnected it right here as well. I don't have any fuel in there right yet, and we're about to drop some in there and then try to see if it will start and fire over. So let me get some fuel in there and then we'll try to crank it over and see what happens. Alright, so you guys can see that we're registering just over empty. I don't want to put too much into this right now, just to see if we can actually get this thing going. I'm going to set you guys on the bench. Hopefully this thing will fire over. Alright, we got the key on. Let's see what happens. Alright, so one improvement I am seeing already is that we are getting fuel into the actual filter. Before that wasn't happening. So we are getting some kind of draw up into here. And so that's a positive. So that's really good. We want to give that starter a little bit of breathing time. So just going to keep on working with this. We know that we've got the fuel getting pulled up in there now. So it might be something like a brake that we got to be stepping on. Something like that that is going to keep this from firing. So I'm going to keep tweaking with it, keep messing with it, see what's going on. And hopefully it'll fire over soon. Alright guys, so I'm going to double check, make sure that this thing will run. Got some starting fluid right here. We're going to squirt it right into the little air box. Give it a little squirt, and let's try to see if it'll even hopefully still start over. Alright, so with it being like that, I think that maybe we aren't getting fuel all the way into the carburetor. And so then we will come over onto this side. And there's the carb right here. I think we're gonna have to go ahead and take this off and just give that a quick clean, and hopefully that will solve our problem. So I just popped the carb open, and that's exactly what I was afraid of. This thing, it's a lot of corrosion on it, but we're gonna try to still put in the parts or the ultrasonic cleaner, replace some of those pieces, and hoping that will still run. So after I took the carburetor off, I went ahead and tried to start the system again, and it wasn't wanting to push the fuel out at the carburetor, which is strange because I thought that the fuel pump was bad. May have been a clogged line. I pulled the old fuel pump back out, and I plumbed it back in right here. As you can see, I just loosely put here. And the way that this one works is there's a cam in there, and I've already tried to start the motor and make sure the cam was working correctly, and it pushes back and forth on this little lever right here. And as you do that, it starts to squirt fuel out back up into the carburetor. So the way that I was trying to check it is you can actually push this, and if you start getting it quick enough, it'll actually squirt fuel out. So if I start, so you guys can see that this is actually a good fuel pump. So we're going to keep the old one and put the old one back on. It's a little bit better of a design. I like how these fittings screw in is compared to this other one where they kind of click in. So I don't really like that design. This one wasn't sealing up very well. So I don't know if this one was even pushing any fuel, but I know for a fact this one is. So we gotta get this old hose off of there. I want the new hose, little piece that I put on there, on here. And then we'll try to start it and see if we get fuel on the other side. I should probably blow all this line out as well. So I'm gonna work on that, getting this replaced and blowing out the rest of the fuel line right here. I'll blow back that way and clear out any clogs. We got fuel actually making it through the fuel pump all the way to where the carburetor will be, and I'm gonna get that cleaned up real quick and try to get that put on and start it up. So there's like no safety circuit on here that will prevent this from running. Even the brake and everything's all disconnected, I guess. But we got this on, and the fuel pump was working, cleaned out the carburetor. That is back on there, so let's see what's gonna happen. It's just gonna die. While this thing is charging, I went ahead and undid that real quick just to make sure that we were getting fuel. There is fuel in the float bowl. So the only other thing that I can think of is that maybe the brake is actually keeping it from starting, like firing over. But we had it fire over by just squirting the starter fluid in there. So I'm not too sure right now. Gotta keep the options open as to why it's not running. The only thing that it could be is either spark or the fuel. And the fuel, it would be the carburetor that's going bad. You guys saw how bad that was, but we'll get this thing running. Well, it started on its own. Alright guys, well that's awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to see. It runs. The belts ran on the mowing deck. So this is like a win-win. Ended up not being the fuel pump. I really do think that it was just a really clogged fuel line, and it just wasn't able to get that good seal to actually pull the vacuum. Or it could have been the tank that was actually bad as well. But we got the tank replaced and also the fuel lines. So the carburetor, I'm going to run this for a little while and see how it does out in the yard and stuff. But the carburetor may need to be replaced, not exactly sure yet. But yeah, that's it. So we gotta get this thing all put back together, and should be a good mower. All right, guys, there it is, all put back together. I've been driving it around the yard. The yard was kind of overgrown a little bit before I mowed, so this helped me kind of trim this down even more. All 4 tires are holding good air pressure. I haven't had to fill them up at all since I brought it in. And this one is a garden tractor style. You can tell because it's got the lug nuts on the back wheel, and on the actual center console area it says all these different attachments that you can use, which has a pretty good variety. You got like snow thrower. You can put tire chains, tire wheels on, or wheel weights on there, sweepers, and obviously you can hook up your attachments right here, which is cool. But I don't think I'm going to be keeping this one. I'll probably drive it around for a couple weeks and see what I think of it. But I got that zero turn that I really like, and it gets the yard done a lot quicker than probably what this could do. So. But this one even only has, I think 340 hours on it, which is fairly low. My zero turn has over 600. So that's it, guys. Now I'll go ahead and do an oil change on it, and possibly even get under there and sharpen the lawnmower and blades. But that's all stuff that you guys can see in other videos, and it's kind of boring actually. So you guys want to see oil dripping out of a hole? Didn't think so. But thanks for joining me while I worked on this mower, getting it up and running. Glad it was simpler than having some kind of weird fuel issue like I thought I was having. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave them down in the section down below. If you guys are new, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.